and action. So could you check and see if I'm even like on the screen here? Somewhere near I'm on.
The words, that might help.
The words. Yeah, you got the words. What is mindfulness and what does it mean to me? No, you're good. All right. Everybody have a definition? Kind of thought about it? Except Carlos.
Write it down.
Write down what you thought about it.
Okay.
Write down what you thought about it. Yeah, write down what you personally think. This is all perfect. This is all about what do you think. I don't want to get up here and preach. I want to get up here and teach you how to learn and think for yourself. One of my favorite stories, Buddha gave this long speech, huge crowd, and he asked, how many of you believe what I just said? Almost everybody raised their hand. Buddha's like, all right, how many don't? One guy in the back raised his hand. And Buddha says, you, why don't you believe? And the guy said, I'll have to go home and think about it. And Buddha said, that man listened. So mindfulness to me is situational awareness, being aware of and thinking about what is going on around you. Mindfulness is about caring enough for the world to think before you act. Whenever I do this means it's an overarching theme. It happens a lot because it's just important. So that's a little bit ahead, spoilers. So what needs to be done, going to our subtopic today on the how to live thing, on mindfulness, perfecting human relationships, what needs to be done to perfect human relationships? So just think about it. There's no right or wrong answer. There's your answer. Just like in this class, I'm going to talk about religion a lot, which is nice. We're not receiving federal money. We can talk about whatever we want. I was raised Mormon, so I don't like to tell people how to believe. The reason I stopped being Mormon is because I'm a math guy, and they said only Mormons get into heaven, and there were only at that time like 10 million Mormons and 6 billion people, now 7 billion people on the planet. And I thought God was incredibly wasteful if that was the rule he used. So I couldn't be Mormon anymore. I think that the greatest relationship should be the one with God, right? If you don't believe in God, eventually we'll talk about that and get that hashed out. And concept of God was one of the first things I had to fix. But anyways, perfecting human relationships. That's one I'm going to leave. Do you guys want to discuss that now or at the end? Later. So we're moving on. So on to our overarching theme. This is one of my favorite visual representations I've ever seen. This is one of the most important things ever.
You're such a math guy.
Yeah, right? Eros, Philia, So the Greeks had a spectrum for love. There was a spectrum for love. Eros is 0% giving, 100% taking. Lustful love. Lustful love. Not in it to do anything but get for yourself. Then we have philia. Philia is where we get family. This is that family love where you give a little, I give a little. It's kind of a 50-50. Philia is family love or equal love. And then agape is 100% giving, 0% taking, and this is divine love. This is going to come up a lot. So So if I say something like the 3 kinds of love, or the spectrum of love, or anything along those lines, this is what we're gonna be talking about. So let me cue up our music, because I think this is the first break. So this is a monk who's giving a talk. Great guy. Let's see. Yeah. Maybe. This one sometimes has problems.
No, what?
This is what I had to do last time.
Greetings and love to all of you. As was announced, our subject for this evening is on perfecting human relationships. We do not think about improving our relationships. We think it's always the other person who is at fault, no matter what we are saying or doing, whatever our relationship is. From the time we're born till we die, we're always with people. We grew up in the family, we go to school and associate with a lot of boys and girls, and we are in the neighborhood associating with people there, and marry, have family, and then at work we have the supervisor to contend with and fellow employees. But we would think that after all this contact, we would learn how to behave and how to associate with others, so there would be harmony and peace between us. Even in a home, there is discord, where there should be harmony. There's a book called Children's Letters to God. And a little boy, Mark, 8 years old, wrote a letter to God. Dear God, my brother is 4.5 years old. I wish you can make him stop driving me crazy.
All right, so I want you to think about a relationship where someone's making you crazy. You're gonna talk to God, whatever you call it, Brahma, some absolute, something that has all power. So you're gonna ask this all-powerful being to fix a relationship. How do you think you would ask him to fix it? So think about that relationship, think about what needs fixed and how that being might be able to fix it. And what I do with my other kids is I'll hold on to your sheets, that way you don't lose them, or you can keep your notebooks, and then anything you don't want me to read, because I'd like to have input from you guys on what did you think, and then especially at the end, if you know, this is what I got from this lesson, these are the questions I have, etc. And then anything you highlight, I won't read, right? Or you can circle it or something, like put private next to it, and I won't read it. Okay, so think about that, maybe write it down, jot it down, and then while you're doing that, we've got 20 seconds.
And so in the home, the children have a hard time getting along with one another, and parents don't seem to know how to bring about harmony in the home either. Somehow society believes that everyone should know the art of getting along with others. It believes that there's no reason to teach this. It should be a natural thing. But as we know, it's not so easy to learn, because there are certain principles we have to understand and know.
So, do you agree that relationships and getting along with people should be taught or shouldn't? Yeah, I mean, we all talk about this. Some people are just horrible people because they don't know how to get along, and they just blame others. So instead of saying, is there anything wrong with me? I always have terrible relationships with everyone around me. Maybe it's me. You know, they don't do that. They don't have the tools. That toolbox tells you exactly why people are like that. So do you guys think we should teach that? Why don't we?
I would say that it's usually because like teachers and stuff like that assume that as we get older we develop our
And that's one of the problems I have as a
Skills.
teacher is, like, we can't assume. Like, we have kids that come in and they barely know how to behave because their parents aren't teaching them. And we get angry about it because now I have to raise your dog, like, and then they complain about how we do it. So it's like, you either get to have us do everything for you and you don't get to complain about it, or you're gonna bear some of the load because this is getting ridiculous. All right, sorry, rant over. Let's continue here.
One time a survey was taken among many business companies to find out why individuals were fired, transferred, why they quit working in a particular company. And they found that 70% of individuals changed because of one reason: inability to get along with others.
70%.
They knew their work, but they did not get along with others. Master used to say there should be how to live schools. One of the most important things in life is to know how to live. Probably the most important thing. We can always make a living, but can we be happy? We can be.
That's super important. So we can always make a living, but will you be happy? So one thing I want to do is we're going to make a pie. You have 3 ingredients for your pie, and you need to figure out the proportions. You have health, you have happiness, you have wealth. So for me, it's something like, I don't have to be rich. I just have to be able to survive. And then these parts, maybe a little more happiness than health, but I kind of like to be healthy, happy, with a little bit of money. So think about your pie and how you make it.
That's interesting. It's a little known secret that the wealthy tend to be healthier too.
Yeah, well, you have
Hey,
better
be
medicine.
healthier.
Oh, yeah. I'll play
You
stats.
pay to be healthier.
You pay to be healthy. Like, yeah. We have one guy I got in an argument with at the gym. He's like, we have the greatest healthcare system in the world. I'm like, sure, if you're super rich. If you or I got hurt, not so
Be
much.
millionaires and still not be happy. Why is it difficult to get along with others? We don't realize it, but it's because it's difficult to get along with ourselves sometimes. We have troubles inside, harboring fears, worries, anxieties, frustrations, dislike, hate, and so on, jealousy. All these are negative qualities. We cannot be happy because happiness is a positive quality. And when we have all these negative qualities, we cannot be happy, and it's difficult to get along with others. And so
These are the 2 most important tools for the toolbox that I'm about to put up. All right, so in your toolbox, you should have introspection. Anybody know what introspection is?
The way that you look at yourself.
It's a way of looking at yourself, but more importantly, introspection is analyzing yourself. The Bhagavad Gita starts with the blind king, the blind mind asking pure introspection. My children, the Kurus, the bad guys, my bad tendencies, and the Pandus, the good tendencies, came together on a field of battle. The field is called Dharmakshetra Kurukshetra. We'll get into that more on the 3rd. That's the field of your consciousness. On the field of my consciousness came out to battle my good and bad tendencies. Which one won the battle. So introspection, know your enemy. Your greatest enemy is your own negative tendencies, my own negative tendencies, our own negative tendencies. Try and list yours and think about them regularly, and if you're letting them win. If you don't think about your negative tendencies, you won't fix them. Discrimination is oftenly taken from a negative connotation, but in this respect, we're discriminating between the good things we can do and the bad things we can do. What are our negative tendencies? Am I quick to anger? So do your best to avoid negative tendencies, but don't be discouraged. If changing takes time, just know that changing is worth the effort. In one of the tracks, we aren't going to have time for it tonight, the brother says, changing our negative habits is hard, but so is living with them. Everybody got this copied down? Introspection and discrimination are two that should be in the toolbox. So let's see. Keep it simple, right? Introspection is just self-analysis. Discrimination in this respect, we're saying we make proper choices. And hand signals, hand up if you need a little more time to write, or if you have a question, right?
Was there a second part to discrimination, or there was a second part to introspection?
There was second parts to both. These are the definitions. This should be in your toolbox, right? And then back here, introspection was about knowing your enemies, thinking about your tendencies, and then trying to overcome those negative tendencies. And that's lesson 3. Don't be discouraged if changing takes time. The Lord is not interested in how long it takes us to overcome our faults. His chief concern is that you continuously resist your tendencies to wrong thoughts and actions.
What were the short ones again?
Self-analysis, making proper choices,
Thank you.
doing the things we should do, avoiding the things we should avoid. All right, we went through those fears, worries, anxieties, frustrations, and now we move on. Oops.
Okay, what's inside, whether we realize it or not. That is the reason we like some people and dislike others. Just at a moment's notice, and we don't know why. Positive habits are important to practice in everyday life. Kindness, love, courtesy, honesty, security, friendliness. Then we'll be happier ourselves, and we'll make others happy likewise. One of the problems that individuals speak about to me is inner criticism. Outwardly, they are calm, but inside, they're criticizing others. And usually criticism, when it's a habit like that, is covering up our own faults. We don't see our faults then when we see the faults of others. And we have some shortcomings, but they are hidden when we criticize others. There's a saying, to criticize someone, even mentally, is a dishonest way of praising oneself. Saying, to criticize someone, even mentally, is a dishonest way of praising oneself.
So what does he mean by that? To criticize others is a dishonest way of praising oneself.
Trying to bring them down, bring yourself up.
Exactly. So you're putting them down to make yourself feel like, oh, they're down there, I'm up here. Right? So criticism of others is something that's a tendency that we all do, right? And we need to analyze ourselves and see how much we can get rid of it, right? So, a little discussion topic there that I want you to think about. We'll do the run through on the first one, and then I'll pause the recording. We'll do a discussion, and then we'll see how interested you are in keeping going. How guilty are you of criticism? And of yourself as well. Remember, we're not just critical of others. Some of us are incredibly critical of ourselves. And that's a negative tendency you have to watch and think about. And through introspection, through discrimination and understanding, you can try and become a better person. That's the point of all of this. Let's close this out. Oh wait. 20.
Because we forget that we have faults, and it makes us feel good when we find faults in others. And someone said, the only honest fault finders are the earthquake scientists. So if you're not one, remember.
All right, and then for this one, we're down to our final thought. And this is another, like, I'm giving you two of my biggest diamonds tonight. It is easy to judge other people's faults, and just as simple to forgive ourselves. But to grow, we must learn to forgive others and to fix our own faults.